Hello and welcome back to another episode of Demos with Angular Live. My name is Stephen Fluin, and this is part 2 of building out a Turnip exchange. So if you missed part 1, you missed a little bit of scaffolding, a little bit of setup, but you didn't actually miss that much real cool functionality. We actually got stuck on a couple bugs with Angular and a whole bunch of bugs with AngularFire. The good news is we got in contact with one of the authors of AngularFire, James Daniels. He told us the fix. And so let me start off kind of just showing off where we left off, and then I'll go into some of the things that we're going to be doing here today. So let's jump over to the code. So if we take a look at our little application, we've got a home screen where you can see a list of islands coming from the database already. We've got a bunch of URLs scaffolded out here. So you get like my island, new island, all those sorts of things. And all of this is actually already connected up to AngularFire. So some of the data is already coming in and so on. So what we're going to do this time is we're going to spend about an hour together, and hopefully what we get to is get past the authentication stage all the way to actually building and connecting in real data coming in so you can actually submit new islands and then list them. We're not going to do moderation, we're not going to do reporting, all those sorts of things are going to come later. So hopefully those two pieces of functionality end up kind of landing here, and we don't run into as many issues as we did last time. So let's go ahead and tweet out and post the link to this. All right, and we should be live. We should be able to see things. So let's just close everything here. And what we're going to start with today is, let me actually show off the fix that we did. So if you take a look at the login component, what you're going to see here is that we added in a extra import Firebase /auth. So we ran into the issue that auth was not being defined last time. And apparently the lazy loading has a little bit of a bug in it, but if you just import Firebase /auth, everything just works just fine, and our application works. So we can actually show that off here if we take a look at our login screen. So login works, sign with Google, pops up my Google account, and we're in. All right, so Firebase is working. We're off to a much better start this time. The first thing I want to do is I want to take the home screen. Actually, let's link the home link. So if you didn't watch last time, what you're going to notice is this is live. This is me figuring things out on the fly. We're not dealing with any of the kind of preconceived notions that we had last time, or in some of our demos later, where we've planned everything out, we've rehearsed it, we know everything. This is just live, real, raw, figuring things out on the fly. And so I just noticed that our little home URL is not linked. And so let's just go ahead and do that now. So I'm going to start just deleting some files that we don't actually need, like this app component .spec.ts. We're not going to be doing any testing in this application. This is just really a demo application and a useful application for me. Testing can be covered by someone else somewhere else. I'm also going to start using the command line to delete files because something between my Linux system and VS Code just does not like when I try and delete a file. I'm not doing any live streaming today. As you can see, Jeremy's not here. So let's go ahead and just remove some of these files. rfete, whoops. Yeah, let's reopen that. E2E, let's remove tsconfig.spec.json. Actually, I'll just leave some of these files because otherwise the build will fail. App. We don't need our routing module anymore. We moved everything to routes. All right, hopefully we have far fewer files now. Yeah, much easier to see what these things are, and I won't keep accidentally clicking on spec files. All right, so we were gonna go back to our home component, and we're gonna make this a link. We might mess up the styling a little bit here, because when you turn something into a link, some new styles are gonna apply. For now, I'm not gonna care. This is gonna be a router link all the way back to our home URL. So now if we are on our /island/my URL, I should be able to click Turnip for turnips and go back to the home page. Functionality working. So because I want all this to work via login and logout, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use auth guards. And so I did a tiny bit of research because I didn't want to run into the same sort of AngularFire bugs that we saw last time. So what I've discovered is that AngularFire has route guards built in. And so I'm going to try and use these. And so there's a couple ways of doing it. In the example, you can see that you've got a can activate that points to AngularFire auth guard, and then you give it some sort of data, which is basically a pipe that gets streamed into the observable chain that handles login, logout events. But there's actually, if you keep reading, there's a even better way of doing this, where they have a can activate helper method that just you use the spread operator, and then it gives you both the data and the can't activate method. So we're going to use that, and we're going to create one for unauthorized users, and we're going to create one that handles when a user logs in. So let's go to our routes here, and let's go ahead and start copying and pasting code. So first I'm going to need a few imports, so let's just import can activate. Let's just put this on the side here. All right, so we're going to import can activate from AngularFire authguard. And now they define all these redirect login, redirect, whatever, up here. So I'm going to define a couple of these and hopefully add the login. So they've got redirect unauthorized to login. I'm just going to say unauthorized. And then this is going to redirect unauthorized user to login. That sounds fine, but we're going to need the import. Okay, and now, so for unauthorized users, that's going to be on my new, and my ID page. So we're going to need can activate unauthorized. All right, now let's add that to all three of these here. And I'm going to make this a tiny bit smaller so people can see. So now we have can activate unauthorized, which is checking using AngularFire to see is the user actually logged in. The other thing I'm going to do is for our login page, we've got this redirect logged into items. So we're going to need the redirect logged into. Let's just copy and paste this so we can fix it. I'll just call this logged in. And we're going to need this import. And for now, let's just take them to the home screen. Now, I think there's probably a few better places. Like I would like to, in this observable chain, remember where they were trying to go and then forward them there. I don't know how to do that, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. So logged in is going to forward you home, and then let's add a can activate up to here. Can activate logged in. So I believe I've done that right if I read the docs correct. Let's take a look. We've added all the imports. All right, let's just try out our application here. So if I go to /login and actually log in, or am already logged in, it should take me home, which it is doing. We need a logout button so we can actually test this a little bit more. And if I try, actually let's build a logout button here. So let's just do this in our app component for now. There's probably a few different places we could do this. Let's make this public so we can exit from our template. And then what is it? It's this afauth.signout. Perfect. And we can just put that directly in our template, and we'll make a little logout button. Hey, look, we already have some styling here for this. This was some code I copied from another project. It might just work out of the box. Let's give it a try. Cannot resolve AngularFire auth. Did the auto import? Yeah, the auto import pulled in the wrong version again. Hey, look, we have the user's icon and logout button, which allows us to log out. So let's actually try out this again. So let's go to island/my. So this should forward us because I'm not an authorized user right now. And then login works. So I'm forwarded to the login screen. I log in with Google. And I get forwarded to the home page. Not quite. I can add a manual subscribe to that on that page, but I think overall things are working as we expect. So let's actually go ahead and link these in queue buttons out to the component itself so we can test that component. So I'm going to find the home component here. We're going to make a click action. Actually, let's just make it a router link. Equals /island/ID. I said in the last video that I was going to be making a data model for these islands, so I think about now is about the right time to be doing that. And we're going to define the minimum amount of things that we're actually going to need for this. So we'll move this where this data actually lives in a little bit. But so we're going to go up here, and we're going to say export interface island. Island's going to have an ID, which is a string. We'll just use that from Firebase. We got a name, string, description, string, dodo code I'll call it. Price. And let's ignore hemisphere. Let's ignore all the other things from the data model because we don't actually need them yet. So this is going to be a list of islands. All right. That all is working great. And now let's go ahead and we want a date too. Apparently we added that to the data model. So let's just make sure our data model is correct. This is going to be a string too. So this is going to be an ISO string. All the typings check out there. And let's see if our enqueue button works. Perfect. So we need some IDs on our islands, but I don't actually want to define IDs manually. I want to get them from the database. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be copying a little bit more code here, where if you take a look at the home component, which is actually downloading all of this data, we're using the value changes. And the value changes does not include the key. And so what I want is I want to use the value changes, or the snapshot changes, which gives me the key and the value. And what I can do here is I have a project where I have all the code for that ready to go. I should probably turn this into a public operator at some point, but I have not quite done that. So I'm just going to find the code here where I can do this. All right, so what it looks like is instead of accessing the value changes, we're going to be accessing the snapshot changes. So we'll say, let's delete this for now. This .islands, .snapshot changes. We're going to need map. Okay, we've got value changes, mapping, and then we're tapping it. In this example, we don't actually need that. We just want the payload key to be added as a key, and then we'll have value, so key and value. All right, we've got unexpected token, so maybe we copied something weird. Oh, we're closing too many things now. Closing that map, closing that map, closing that pipe. I have a mismatch here, but I will fix that in a second. The statements are not aligned. I don't care. So, do we know what this is? This .islands.snapshot changes. Proper, so, sorry. There we go. Whoops. Maybe we don't need the as here. Let's check. Do we have the correct type of the val? We do. Perfect, because it's coming in through the AngularFire list. All right, so the only thing we have to do now to make our component work with this is instead of accessing island, you say island.value. Actually, I want to do something a little bit naughty, and I just want to spread the data. So we're going to just append a key property effectively, or add a key to the collection. All right, let's see if that works. So we can just go to our home screen again. Everything works perfectly, but now what's critically different is that we're going to have the key of each of these islands. And so when you click, instead of going to /undefined, we should actually be going to the ID. So we're still going to undefined. Let's take a look at what's going on here. A, B, C, D, E, F. Oh, it's called key, not ID. That's a little mismatch here. All right, so now we have our little keys. These are coming from Firebase. When they start getting created automatically, these will have a much, much longer name, but those are just the sample ones that we put in. Someone's in the chat is saying, didn't the value change say a change to allow you to get the ID back? That would be cool, wouldn't that be? A great feature, so I don't have to do this big complicated mapping. Let's give that a try since someone just said that that works. So let's comment this out. And say island data equals this dot islands dot value changes, and say events ID field question mark string. That is not what it's expecting, so I'm going to just ignore that for now. I could research that, but I'm not sure that that works. I'm sure AngularFire can and should build that, because I always need the keys, and I hate doing this extra work to get those keys, but anyway. Okay, so we've got our island data, we've got our key, we can follow the links, all of that is working. So let's go ahead and actually build out the form for our new page. So islands new. So island new works, and let's just drag this over here, and let's start building out a new page. Let's shrink this all the way. So we've got an island new page. We could be using Angular forms here. I'm just going to keep it really, really simple just to move fast. We don't need any SCSS here. Oh, I deleted a file in VS Code. As we know, deleting a file absolutely crashes my VS Code for some reason. So as soon as that comes back, we'll go ahead and fix that. And while in the meantime, I'm just going to go to island my, and we'll just remove the island my SCSS. All right. Reopen VS Code. All right, so actually by deleting that SCSS, we've broken our component because the compiler can't resolve the SCSS, but now we fixed that. Let's just clean up this component a little bit. All right, so we don't actually need to know very much. Actually, we're trying to do island new, not island my, so let's go to island new. And do the same cleanup here. All right, so our island type is going to have, let's go ahead and refactor that right now. So in my app folder, I'm going to create a new file called island.ts. Okay, so now we have an island object, and let's refactor that export that we had. So we have the typing. All right, export interface island, and then we're gonna have to make sure we import that so that we know where to access it. All right, we can do the exact same thing here in islands new. We can say so let's create a simple form using our types that we had. So input, and let's just use a label object here. So we need a name, we need a dodo code, we need a description, and this can be a text area. And we'll just call that good for now. Button create. All right, I think all that's good. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna wrap this in a form. And then we'll say that the button is of type submit, so the user can hit enter if they want. think that works, but let's just pass event and let's actually take a look at the value here. So we've got our form submission, and let's see if we have a create island event ever triggered. All right, these styles are not going to work in this way, so let's fix that just a little bit. And I think I want every time there's a label to have display block. Should give us some separation here. We could probably even say padding 5px. Name dodo code description. Someone's colored our background color, our inputs, but not our text areas. Clicking around too much. And then we'll just override this style here on the actual form, because we know here in the specific context how big we want this to be. That's much too big. Let's say 100px. Okay, Steven, test, create. All right, so step one, you need to intercept the fact that we are doing a native form submission and prevent the default. So when we handle our form here, we're going to say event.prevent default. All right, so this is the submit event, and the submit event target is the form, and we can say submit event target. So I think if we name all of our form fields, we can just access all of them directly. So name equals name. Code. Description. All right, now let's go ahead and say event.target. I think it's that value too. Let's take a chance. ABC. That is the HTML. That is not exactly what we wanted. So let's try it again. All right, we're gonna go spelunking for event. So this is submit event. The target is a form. So what we're looking for is what's the easiest way to access the collection as a value. Yeah, you can absolutely use reactive forms. I am not doing any validation here yet, so I don't need it. The idea is just to hammer this out very, very quickly. I thought you could just access the value, but I'm wrong. That must be when I'm using reactive forms. Should we switch to reactive forms? Or do we want to try one more little hack? Still undefined. I thought these automatically aggregated up. I'm just revealing that I'm bad at JavaScript right now. If Jeremy was here, he would be doing a really good job of making fun of me and everything I'm doing. All right, let's add Angular reactive forms then. Oh, it's such a pain. All right, we're gonna do something even worse that I'm pretty sure will work. And it might be, some end up be value, it might be text, but so name code description. All right, so we have the values again. So reactive forms would have made that way simpler, but I didn't go that way this time. So now what we can do is we need to get a handle on our AngularFire database. And so that anyone can modify the values within their own key, their user ID key. So we're going to make this private, and we're going to say this.db.object, and we need a reference to the path. So this should be island/myid. We're going to need to go get that in a second. .set, and we'll set it to name code description. Got double brackets here, fix that. Cannot resolve AngularFire. The auto import has failed us again. That's another bug for James Daniels to take a look at. AngularFire database in island new. That looks right. Maybe we've permanently broken the build. Let's double check our build and restart. All right, so what this should be able to do is create an island with my ID. So we need to fix two things now. We need to go and actually add the ID into the query here so that we're updating the right ID, and we have to change our AngularFire rules such that a user can modify the AngularFire ID associated with themselves. So let's go to the database and click on rules. And I'm going to just go take a look at a reference project for all the syntax. So we're going to go to, what's a good reference project? This is my baby log. So what you need to do is you need to check that the UID matches the auth UID. Perfect. So within our rules, we're going to say everybody can read everything for now. And then your islands key, and then you're going to have a UID. And so the UID is only going to work if you have matched. So, and then we'll just say right equals false otherwise. I don't even think we have to. I think it just defaults to that. All right, let's give it a try and say A, B, C. Oh, we need to actually modify the ID, don't we? Yeah, permission denied. Good. I don't have the access to access the key, my ID here, so this actually needs to come from AngularFire auth. So let's go ahead and get a handle on AF auth. Now, I know there's a key in here for the UID, but I don't remember what it is, so we're going to have to look around for it, or just listen to the observable and then subscribe to it. Let's pull up the docs real quick. So pulling up the AngularFire auth docs. Where's the API docs? AngularFire auth promises to AngularFire auth so we can see what methods are available. Current user sounds pretty good. And then a user has UID, current user UID. So let's see, does this .afauth .current user it's all asynchronous. Is there anything I can fetch synchronously? Oops. Is user synchronous? Observable. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to subscribe to this. So we're going to create a destroy. We're going to import subject. So what we're doing right now is we want to safely subscribe to an observable in a component, and you don't want to do that just with a dangling subscription. We want something that's going to unsubscribe as soon as we leave this component. So import subject from RxJS. And then we're going to say on destroy this .destroy.next. It wants us to add the implements per the style guide. And now we have a destroy that emits, so now we can subscribe in our constructor. What did we call this property again? That's an observable user. All right, so that we need to subscribe to. And we're going to say this .sync UID equals this user.uid. All right, now we want to make sure we're not doing this dangling subscription, so we're going to pipe this through all the way through take until this .destroy. So what we're doing is we're only going to be listening to this user within this component as long as this component is alive. As soon as it's not alive, we'll stop subscribing automatically because this .destroy will have emitted. So we should be good with that. And we now have a sync UID, and I can just say island/UID. All right, so now when we hit create, it should actually work. Oh, we still have a bug. Model not found. I think we have the auto formatter. I hope everyone understands this is totally a joke. The fact that the auto formatter just gets wrong every time. Island created ABC, and let's take a look at our Firebase database to see what's happening. We now have my user ID has created ABC, and if we fake this out, if we say, hey, let's modify someone else's ID, am I allowed to do that? DEF, permission denied, perfect. All right, so now anyone can go in, they can sign in, they can create an island, and then we will show them here in the code. So we're gonna want a couple of things. We're gonna say date equals new date dot get ISO string, and we need a price, which is a really great point. So let's go ahead and add a label price input price type equals number. And we'll create a new button on our island so that it's easy to get to. Oops, syntax error. All right, so I've just fat fingered the router link, but now that I've fixed that, we should have, we don't need to bind. This is just a hard-coded URL. We only need to bind if we want to throw variables in there. All right, we have a new button. It takes us to the new island, which I don't know if you're noticing, but this is actually functionally equivalent to the My Island now, because I can set my island. So we can say Stevens Island 2, 529, Dodo code 123. Come north and hang out. Created, and what we can do is we can listen to that set promise, set as a promise. So create island, we can say if this returns, that returns an AngularFire object of type unknown. Oh, set, here we go. Set, yeah, it's a promise. So I can say dot then, dot catch. What does this actually give me? I'll just use the router here, so I'm going to inject the router into our constructor. Reformat, that's probably too long. No, it's still allowable. Okay. This I can say this.router.navigate by URL. As soon as you create your island, we're going to go back to the home page. And if it doesn't create, let's just console.error. A, B, C, D. Oh, 1, 2. Oh, we've got a Zone.js bug in AngularFire. James Daniels will have to fix that one as well. I think I can just inject run in ngZone then. Oh, I'm never going to remember this. What is it? Run in. I'm going to Google it. Run in ngZone. Zone.js. As a developer, I love it. I almost never have to deal with this issue. But as a library author like AngularFire does, they have to deal with these issues all the time. All right, so I think I can just import run in zone. All right, so let's just import run from Angular core. Is that right? So we got ngZone, and we should just be able to say ngZone.run here. Does that look right? Run does not exist on type of ngZone. I swear it does. ngZone run. Any? All right, this is one we're gonna have to use our Google foo to fix the AngularFire bug here. Oh, okay, it wants us to inject it. All right, we can inject it. That will be just fine. There's some commands you don't have to, the static ones you don't have to, but we'll just say zones, private zones, ngZone. And we're gonna get rid of, no, we still need that. Okay, so we should be able to say zones.run now. All right, so we've got our method that does this perfect. And let's see if that's any better. So Stevens Island 2, 450, 23, test, sure, whatever. All right, we are now back. We've patched AngularFire's bug. We are able to add a new island. And actually there's this nice security that I can't create a bunch of islands. Like each user should only have one island. That's one of the assumptions that we made in our Turnip requirements doc here, where we said, can you use multiple islands? No. So we have islands listed. We can edit islands. Now we need the queue. So the queue is going to be a little bit tougher because within each of the keys, I need to be able to write data about the queue for an island without actually being part of the island. And we don't want users to be able to interact with each other. But that's going to be for next time. That's going to be a much more difficult challenge, and we're probably going to end up using Firebase functions in order to manage the permissions there, rather than using AngularFire and having to maintain data in a bunch of different places. So we've accomplished the mission for today. We're able to create new islands. We're able to update the data about our island and sign in, auth works, everything's secure, and I'm feeling good. So let's just go ahead and commit our changes here. Islands editable. We'll push that up, and let's go ahead and do a ng deploy. So this is live. If you haven't seen the URL, you can actually access this whole application at, what is it, turnip.fluent.io. I think it is. Yep. So turnip.fluent.io. Obviously, this is the version from last time where the data doesn't work, but it should work this time. As soon as this deploy command finishes, I should be able to go and upload my own island. You obviously can't see the island dodo code or anything like that. We don't want to show that until users hit the right place in the queue. And that actually brings up an interesting security point, because we don't want users to be able to go look up the dodo code of other users. And so that is going to be an interesting challenge, and one that I'm not actually sure how we're going to resolve that. Maybe we just end up having a private part of the Firebase database where only the API can access those codes. But as I said, all that is going to be a challenge for next time. And our app is live. We should be able to see new. John has created an island. It is working. It is live. Thank you so much, everyone, and I will see you next time.